Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Rick and Morty actually fucking did it. They had a time travel episode, and not a characters can see their futures, and that's time travel in a metaphorical sense, so let's tempt fate and call it time travel in our after show episode and give the asshole Rick and Morty commenters more cardio than they've ever had in their lives as they type actually in all caps, but actual legit time travel with a planet of snakes who have knotted themselves into a Terminator time loop scenario that Rick has to untangle. As Rick says this episode,
also, that's about as much curvature as you're gonna get from a time travel story.
And he's right. The term curvature is meta commentary by the Rick and Morty writing staff, referring to how they challenge themselves to curve their stories with wild, unpredictable arcs, as opposed to, simple linear stories that most other TV shows settle for. And this Rick and Morty version of time travel is not the linear plot hole filled one that most time travel fiction is, but an insanely dense curved one that both blows out its concept to its furthest logical conclusions and then neatly loops back on itself with a literal punchline. But enough filleting the writing, let's slow down the breakneck pace of this episode to Ricksplained how exactly the time travel works in Rick and Morty Season 4, Episode 5, Rattlestar Ricklactica. So famously, Rick and Morty has steered away from time travel as a story concept, considering it an overdone trope in sci-fi. Still, time travel does exist in this universe. In the pilot episode, Rick jumps ahead to a more medically advanced future, and of course, Rick's time travel stuff box has rested in the garage every episode forever untouched. But why do time travel now? Well, apparently, there is something else Dan Harmon hates nearly as much as time travel: snakes.
Snakes, they suck. They're not supposed to have space programs. They're not supposed to live and dominate a planet. They're gross little holdovers from when we evolved from worms.
If we're gonna make a whole snake society and go down this dumb loophole and do all this dumb stuff, the biggest dumb leap we could do is time travel.
So let's deep down this snake hole to see how deep it goes, because it's pretty damn impressive how far the writers will go to prove how dumb something is. So Morty swaps in an Earth snake, Slippy, to replace the snake astronaut he killed, but that results in snake scientists unlocking the language barrier between snakes that caused their race conflicts, allowing them to evolve technologically beyond the point that they should have. This evolution leads to a Terminator time travel assassin scenario. Morty gets targeted by a cyborg snake of Serpicore, a hive mind, kind of like Skynet, but then he gets saved by a shotgun-toting snake, and then they also get protection from another T-800 style protector that the future snake resistance made to try to look human, and Beth crushes it. And all this goes down while in the background, the time travel stuff box is literally tipped over, spilling out everywhere. There are actually a ton of animation details in this episode that I will reveal shot by shot in my breakdown of the episode coming next on the channel. But moving on, there's a Sarah Connor style monologue explaining the future post-apocalyptic history of the snakes.
17 billion snake lives ended on June 21st, 2026. The survivors lived only to face a new nightmare: the war between snake and machine. In the end, Snake overcame Machine because of what we couldn't predict: that an alien, a child from a distant star, would save us.
So Rick and Morty commando into the snake planet to try to undo this time travel, and already we see the overcomplicated, nonsensical wrinkles of it.
Your brood must be exterminated. You will not kill her or her brood. Must kill brood and mother. Get behind me. Your brood will seed all life on this planet. That doesn't make sense.
This is a multi-twist Sarah Connor setup, kind of like Terminator Genesis, if you're one of the few who watched that movie. Snake cyborgs wants to kill Slippy and her John Connor babies. Future snake robot says to stop, but then a knife-wielding Melina snakes wants to kill, and then a future snake wants to protect. This overcomplicated structure gets compounded when Rick realizes he has to invent snake time travel for them, leading to future versions of Rick and Morty showing up with snake costumes and a black eye and time travel devices. So they go to Snake MIT 1985, which is the same origin year of Back to the Future. There's actually a Snake Back to the Future poster in that lab, to leave them with a sports almanac type book to incept time travel among the snakes. So, unlike most time travel fiction, in which the solution is to go back and prevent time travel from being invented, Rick's solution is more time travel. Because, as we've seen in series like The Terminator, once time travel gets introduced in fictional universes, it's a can of worms in which every attempt to stamp out time travel just gets stupidly prevented by a hypothetical future who wants time travel. So Rick just fast tracks this process. He gives them too much time travel so that the snakes will inevitably overdo it.
We're removing ourselves from this sloppy, f***ed up story and letting snake time time travel eat its own tail.
It's such a great line because like a snake eating its own tail, it connects the suckiness of one sucky thing with the suckiness of another sucky thing. Time travel equals snakes. So the time travel logic applies to the two most common linchpin historical developments that time travelers would change: the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and the rise of Hitler. So the 80s snake saves Lincoln, but when he returns, his snake friend Sig Heils, and he realizes Snake Lincoln was a fascist, which is a great callback to the fascist dimensions of the season premiere episode. And then the missions to assassinate Snake Hitler escalate into a freaking bloody melee.
We just gotta wait for him to blow by a cop.
And they intervene back to the first snake to ever use technology.
Oh, look at you. You a smart snake, huh? You using tools now, huh?
Those tools gonna turn into you manipulating the fabric of shit. Get over here, motherfucker.
I think you do.
You don't turn.
So all the snakes fade from existence, literally eating their own tails. And the episode returns Morty and Rick to their future selves, so they have to complete the snake costumes and time travel devices to give it to their past selves, and we finally learn how Morty got his black eye.
I feel like we're forgetting something. Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. Morty, next time stay in the car.
This episode closes the loop of its own time travel so that it never needs to be used again. Though technically it can, since Rick still has those devices, but obviously he doesn't want to ever use them, so back in the box they will probably go. Impressively, one of the most complex time travel plots we've ever seen unfolds, and I counted this, in just 6 minutes and 33 seconds of runtime of the episode. So if you feel betrayed that Rick and Morty did a time travel episode, something they promised they would never do, they did essentially pull what is the equivalent of a double McTwist 1260 of time travel stories in a fraction of the time of most other time travel fiction. And Rick and Morty committing to a good time travel episode was actually predicted in a past episode of this show.
You know what I would think would be very interesting is this, like, maybe the final 70th episode.
Yeah.
They maybe did a time travel episode.
Oh, finally they.
Yeah,
yes.
and almost in a way to like go, all right, now we're gonna do the really cool thing that we shouldn't have ever done.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do it. So it seems like it would be a good challenge to make that finally.
Yeah, I feel like you guys have smart enough science fiction people in the room that you could actually do a time travel story that is both like logical and makes sense, but it's also like entertaining.
And so to run a victory lap on that prediction, we have brought back writer and comedian Abed Gheith and other special guests to dive deeper into the time travel of this historic episode after a quick message from our sponsors.
Why do people still go to the post office, especially during the holidays when everyone is trying to send gift cards and cards to loved ones or fruitcakes to unloved ones? Anything you can do at the post office, you can do at Stamps.com. Stamps.com eliminates trips to the post office and saves you money with discounts that you can't get at the post office. Here at New Rockstars, we've been using Stamps.com to ship rewards to our Patreon patrons. And it's been really, really helpful, a big time saver. And if you're a patron, keep an eye out for that hot merch blazing up your mailboxes. Stamps.com brings all the services of the U.S. Postal Service right to your computer. Whether you're a small office sending invoices, an online seller shipping out products, or even a warehouse sending thousands of packages a day, Stamps.com can handle it all with ease. Not to mention, it's a fraction of the cost of expensive postage meters. Stamps.com is a no-brainer, saving you time and money. It's no wonder 700,000 small businesses already use Stamps.com. Don't spend a minute of your holiday season at the post office this year. Sign up for Stamps.com instead. There's no risk with my promo code Ricksplained. You get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Ricksplained. That is Stamps.com, enter Ricksplained. Stamps.com, never go to the post office again. Support for Ricksplained also comes from Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Time-traveling snakes are the least of your worries. What about a snake with fur that's too long and gets caught in your zipper? It's time to gear up and get yourself the gift of shaving this holiday season. I'm talking about the Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0. Holiday sweaters might be itchy and furry, but you don't need to be. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. Their Lawnmower 2.0 has proprietary skin-safe technology, so this trimmer will not nick or snag your nuts. It's also waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. The Lawnmower 2.0 comes inside their Perfect Package 2.0, which makes the perfect gift this holiday season. It's literally everything you need to keep trimmed, cut-free, smelling nice down there, and everything you need in life. The Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0 includes the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver to keep your balls from sweating, smelling, and sticking. And these products smell good. Their manly scent is attractive, interactive, and will help set the mood, if you know what I mean. Baby, it's gonna be real cold outside. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code Ricksplained at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the code Ricksplained.
All right, welcome back, and here to talk with us about this episode of Rick and Morty are some very special guests we're happy to have on the show. First time on New Rockstars, Jessica
Thanks.
Chobot. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Hopefully I have something worthwhile to contribute.
Of course you will.
I feel like I'm kind of out of the loop a little bit. But
Oh, no. Well, you'll be in the loop now, especially with our other guest here coming back to the show, Abed Gheith.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh, well, let's talk about this, guys, because this is a historic moment. Rick and Morty finally did a time travel episode, something they promised they would never do, despite time travel existing in the universe. And, I mean, they did kind of hint at it in the first episode of the series, but they finally did a full time travel episode. So what do we think was the straw that broke the camel's back with the room? Was it just a hatred of snakes? Or was it like, no, it's finally time to address this?
I think the second thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think maybe... They just got over their sort of like, all right, who cares?
Yeah.
It's science fiction. We might as well.
yeah.
You know, because I think it's a kind of good idea to use time travel in this situation.
Yeah.
What was always the issue with doing it before? Like what was the problem?
I
Just
think
like
because
was
it's
it
done to death.
That's
Yeah,
it?
everybody
And
does
people
it.
groan when there's time. Like I groaned in Endgame. I was like, oh god, you know, because I was like, that annoys me. Because, but in this situation with the snakes, I really thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always liked the fact that they attacked tropes, and so if this for them was a trope, there's so many seasons in already and so confident with their footing at this point that it makes sense to do it now because it's just another trope that they're hitting.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, this is a show that's a parody. So in a sense, you have to make fun of time travel. So
Yeah.
that's good. So and like I said, Endgame, I was like, well, that's a movie that doesn't need time travel. You know, we got so much stuff already.
Yeah.
But with Rick and Morty, like they like to go to every sci-fi trope and kind of do their take.
Yeah.
So I think it was inevitable.
Yeah. Like Thanos. It's God.
Poor
it's-
Thanos.
I feel bad that I have these like low-hanging references to grab. It's interesting that like they finally did it, and they did it justice. I feel like they were smarter about the way they structured their time travel than like most other time travel plots I've seen, which are pretty linear. Like Rick has that line that's the most curvature you'll see with a time travel story. And in a way, they're getting back to their roots too, because Rick and Morty and the Channel 101 shorts were like based on that really crude Doc and Marty X-rated short that Justin Roiland did, and they're able to go back with kind of a Back to the Future style like time travel plot. So it feels like a homecoming in a way.
Yeah, I thought they rode the line for this really well, where they made reference, obviously, like you said, to Back to the Future, Terminator. They did justice with all the things that they were calling back to and everything that we're familiar with from a pop culture standpoint, but also giving us a plot that was convoluted enough that you're like, yep, time travel, but not so much that you couldn't figure out why it was happening. You know, like they were just really rode that really, because either way, if you start tipping one way or the other, it either becomes too boring because it's too obvious, or then it becomes so convoluted that you're completely lost.
Yeah.
And so I thought they did a good job kind of riding right down the middle.
Yeah, it was earned. It was like they didn't need time travel. We were just exploring the snake world, but like it was a natural consequence of letting the snake world continue unevolved. Of course, they would invent time travel and abuse it so quickly.
Yeah.
So like
They're snakes.
Yeah, they're snakes. They don't know
They're
any
monsters.
What else are they gonna do?
Yeah, I love this because I'm a big fan of like Buster Keaton and Chaplin. So I love that silent, just with the essence, with this, like that was great because telling a story without words to me it takes a lot of skill.
Yeah.
And it was a very visual, fun section of the episode.
Yeah.
Kind of my favorite.
Yeah.
It's so different than anything you see today, which is too wordy.
Yeah, Abed, you were saying how like it takes such a long time to actually animate these things, and there was so much detail in that snake world. Like everything was snake equivalent. Like the columns were serpentine in the way they were designed. So like clearly they had to put a lot of love and craft into just doing the visual storytelling of this episode.
Yeah.
And maybe by doing that, it set the stage to have a very wordy, overcomplicated time travel plot in the last like 6 minutes of the episode.
Yeah, it was balanced.
Yeah.
Pretty well. Because for a time travel episode, like you were saying, like you have to kind of make it either convoluted or very simple.
Yeah.
So I like that it got really complicated.
Yeah.
Because also it's like an episode you can watch again.
Yeah.
And then find little things you missed.
Yeah, that is interesting that by by having only snake language, and so therefore kind of a silent movie, we were able to kind of get away with more of the weird sci-fi time travel element and not get too confusing. Because if the snakes could actually talk and they could understand, that would have been so overwhelming.
Right. There's a movie, I don't know, I can't remember now, but whenever there's like people talking another language, they didn't have subtitles.
Yeah.
And I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, the
'Cause we
original
just
Star
have to-
Wars did that in some scenes.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
They didn't put subtitles.
Because
Yeah.
then you have to read body language, and I
Yeah.
think that's way more interesting a way to tell a story than with words.
Yeah.
So like to me that was kind of incredible.
Yeah.
And that's where I give my hat off to, I don't have a hat, but my,
Yeah.
you know, to this episode.
Yeah.
And the writers or whatever.
Yeah, the
And
writers
also,
really
like reading snake body language is like what? There's not a lot
it's
of
a straight
options.
line
It's a
through.
straight- to animate, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, you're right. Snake bodies aren't as easy to read, but well, the little tongue says it all. You know,
Yeah.
it's just
Right.
like dancing around.
It was really clever. Like they would use the ends of the tails as like
Yeah.
hands, and they could like. There was a moment where the scientist snake held his briefcase over his head to shield him from the rain. Like,
Yeah.
just those trope things. Yeah, I think the writers trusted us to be able to follow it when there's no words and when there's too much words.
Yeah.
To like the twists were insane in the
You know
last
what might
30
be interesting
episodes.
is to go back and watch it again and pay attention if different types of snakes had different social rankings
Oh sure.
in their society. Like, were all the rattlesnakes the soldiers? Because one of that, I think I saw a rattlesnake punching somebody.
That's right, like a fist.
Yeah, I wonder if going back, but it was, so quick that I didn't catch it at the
interesting.
time, but I wonder if social stratification is based on what
Oh yeah.
types of snakes they are. I don't know why I did this, but
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking
You were
two
connecting
snakes
the two-
connecting.
the two ends of the snake.
Yeah,
Right,
the
right.
two
To a
ends
full
of my
circle.
thoughts, the two ends of the snake.
We
We've
saw where
gone
you're
full
going, yeah.
circle.
Is the elephant in the room the snake sex?
Right. Yeah.
Like, well, that was because, like, I think you said that's how snakes have sex.
Right. They wrap around.
They wrap
and
around
knock
and
themselves
and
around.
One,
yeah.
I mean, I was educated today.
Yes.
So that's
Yeah, I
pretty
didn't
great.
know that that's
yeah, I
how
didn't
that
know
went
that. So I
down.
like to know how snakes have sex. So when I go nature hunting, I
You'll
can be
know.
like, hey, I know how it goes down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll know to slowly back away from them when
Yeah.
you see that. Like,
Yeah,
they,
I'll be like, whoa, it's getting
Yeah.
crazy.
unless they
And then you
they
sit,
want
and then you
Yeah.
just sit down and start watching.
I don't want the audience to think that I want to see snakes have sex. I'm just like, well, now I'm educated, so I know when to leave the premises.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. It was educational. And yeah, Morty did draw the marker on Slippy. It was almost like a star-bellied Sneetches kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
there was definitely some social caste system to the snakes. God, I gotta go look at this a third time. So what I've liked about the season is each episode seems like it starts from a place of a gripe, like that either Dan Harmon or one of the writers have. Like, there was a past episode about heist movies and how annoying heist plots are. There was an episode about how they want to have their own private toilet. And how that turns into this big plot. There's an episode about how like magic is annoying and because it's unexplained. And this episode was about like kind of like how snakes are just freaking annoying. And they were able to create a time travel plot that thematically and visually comes back to this idea of snakes eating their own tail. And that's what time travel
Isn't it
plots are.
Ouroboros?
Yeah,
Right,
or-
yeah.
yeah.
Thank you for the
I
technical.
don't know.
No
if I'm-
problem.
Yeah.
I only know that term because of Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
I think I know that term because of Skyrim. I think
Right.
it's a symbol on Skyrim.
we both,
yeah.
we're
Like,
both not, I mean, I'm not very bright. It's just from something I've seen.
Yeah.
Is it not a Harry Potter thing too? The Death Eaters?
I
I'm
feel
sure
like
it
it
is.
shows up in anything that is
It's-
somewhat magical. They always reference it in one way
It
or
might
another.
be Latin, I
Yeah.
believe. But,
Do snakes ever actually eat their own tails? Like, I feel like they're smart enough
well,
not
if it's
to.
an
They're not
alive
puppies.
No, I see
situation.
my cat going after its tail a lot, but I don't know.
Oh,
if
cats
snakes
would
do
definitely
it.
eat the tail
Yeah,
first, yeah.
absolutely. Cats would eat their own tail.
Do we think there's so this was a pretty big turning point to have a time travel episode, but to me it seems like this is self-contained. Like, I don't imagine them doing another time travel episode in the future. But could you see them, and do you want them to pursue other angles of time travel? Like, this was a closed loop, Terminator-style time travel. Could you see like another, alternate
Maybe-
timeline time travel or Slaughterhouse 5 style time travel?
oh,
where
well,
it's
that
just
would
one
be
body.
that would be interesting. I'd like to see a primer one that's very technical.
Sure, yeah.
But I mean, time travel is just, it is so done to death
Yeah.
that I hope they never do it again until maybe the 70th episode.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
final episode.
Yeah, because then it's like maybe do one where they go back to the pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I forget
yeah.
what show did that, But
I mean, Endgame kind of did that by going back to past movies, but I feel like they
but
left so
stole
much on
that
the table.
from Back to the Future too.
They did,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they talked about how they weren't doing Back to the Future 2, but then they basically just did Back to the Future Part 2, and not as well too. I don't know. I felt like Act 2 of Endgame. I wish that was the whole movie of just like every single have Luis go there and like narrate what they're doing. Like I feel like there's so much more cashing in to do, but then they just kind of moved away from it just so they could have a big battlefront where
They just
everyone
wanted
was
to
there.
kind of quickly get through the film.
Yeah.
So I feel like they just threw that in there. Like it didn't feel natural to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Unless wait until it's like the 70th episode, and even then have it a different approach to time travel.
Right,
but
right.
I feel totally content with this episode and what they did with it. And
Yeah.
I was entertained the whole time.
Yeah.
So I'm good.
I agree. I think if you're gonna do time travel, do it that way.
Yes.
Like you said, like make it kind of convoluted and confusing, and so I have to watch it again because most of the time travel, it shouldn't be easy to understand.
Yeah, and what was great about it is they snuck it on us, right? Like the episode's title was Rattlestar, Ricklactica, and I'm thinking like a Battlestar Galactica. We're gonna have Cylons, or we're gonna have like some kind of weird time setting twist, which is like the final episode, or there's some kind of religious overtones the way Battlestar did. But it was none of that. There's no time travel in Battlestar Galactica. It was clear they just titled it that episode so that they could, in the third act of this episode, subtly introduce time travel
Well,
to us.
they didn't do time travel, but they did. Remember, they jumped ahead 6 months.
They did, yeah.
It's a way of time travel. It's like putting it's putting
They
the
did
story
time
into a
jumps
sleep
versus-
stasis.
Right.
But I mean, that's not the same because I guess time travel is going back.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like alternate timeline versus So I kind of love that. I'm glad that they didn't come out and say we're doing our time travel episode because that would have built up expectations way too high.
Right. Well, and also they're not going to do that just because then you're going to get some backlash.
Right.
You're going to get people going crazy. Like we all know these fans are out of their minds. Yeah. So they're going to be like, "What? You guys said you never do time travel. What? Like they're going to go nuts." So it's like it's better to do it this way and to kind of like carry you along and surprise you in a sort of like fun way.
I mean, the times, they are a-changin', right? There we go.
Yes.
There we
they
go.
Are.
Right.
Well, that's a great place to end it.
That's a perfect.
Perfect.
button.
Snake ate its own tail finally. It's been so great chatting with you guys. Do you have any things that you're working on that you want to share?
Well, I have a lot of stuff that I'm working on that I can't share, but look for it next year, hopefully sooner rather than later. I think around February, March. Yeah, based on what I know about the edit, February or March. And then I'm actually going to be launching a paranormal podcast with a friend of mine named Bowser over here at Starburns.
Very exciting.
So probably not until, it's Christmas break, very, very soon, or holiday break for others, and it's like we know that it is, everybody's cashed out already, and so we're not even going to try and launch anything until after everybody's back from the holiday vacations.
Okay, well, great.
But yes, we're definitely doing it.
Well, we look forward to that.
Thanks.
And Abed, you have lots of secret projects with the government that you can never share.
The weird thing is I think I can announce one of them in February.
Okay.
But the other one I just started, so I don't know yet what it's going to be. But it is like an animated thing, so that's going to be fun. So yeah, watch for that. If you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, you'll be able to find out when I can announce it.
Well, Abed Gheith, Jessica Chobot, thank you so much for coming on this show.
Thanks.
It's been a delight having you here to talk about this monumental episode of Rick and Morty. Be sure to follow us at New Rockstars and subscribe to our Ricksplained podcast feed because we will be doing after shows for the rest of the season whenever it comes back in 2020. I think January, we'll see. You can follow me at Erik Voss, and thank you, and keep an eye out for our breakdown of all the animation jokes that you missed this episode. And we'll close out this episode of Ricksplained with our favorite line of the episode.
Come on, Jerry. I can recognize the sound of a seagull.
Can you recognize the sound of a man's pants filling up with rain?
I hope to one day.